safe till we have gates behind the bars. The geek's in control, he's changed his disguise. His chemical world will be your demise. He's sick and he's cruel and acts like he's God. Speaks on the stage while zombies applaud. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe till we have gates behind the bars.
Hey, say what you may about Billy Boy, but he sure knows how to make a profit. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org, and we have a plethora of absolutely mind-boggling news to get into today, as of course we have all the latest information to get into, especially when it comes to ChatGPT and the race for artificial intelligence. And we're also going to be talking about a lot of international doomsday news, with American foreign policy being criticized more than ever, especially with the latest bombshell by Simon Hirsch. A lot of big implications here. We're going to be getting into all of that, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And the clip that we played in the beginning of this clip was, of course, by the very talented 5 times August. He's an awesome musician. I interviewed him before. His songs hit the nail on the head, especially his latest one. And that's why we played only a short segment of his latest video about Billy Boy. If you want to watch the full video, it will be linked down in the description below. It was just released 2 days ago. And truly, if you haven't subscribed to 5 Time August, what are you waiting for? He's an awesome musician, performer, and more important, critical thinker that is willing to create crucially important art to open up the horizons and perspectives of the general public, and we definitely need more of that more than ever. As of course, times are getting hard, and they're only going to get a lot more difficult from here. As of course, the price of common household goods like eggs have gone up dramatically in the United States. They're also expected to go up in New Zealand, along with, of course, a lot of egg manufacturing plants that have recently gone up in flames. All of this as Billy Boy recently is recommending people eat fake eggs rather than, of course, real eggs, since, you know, highly processed inflammatory foods are so good for you that even CNN just wrote a very interesting article detailing how if you eat a lot of processed food, your risk of cancer goes up. And not only is your physical health negatively affected, so is your mental health, as this latest article by CNN surprisingly detailed how people who consumed at least 20% of their daily calories from ultra-processed foods are at an elevated risk for cognitive decline. In an opinion article that was, of course, firing shots at Nancy Pelosi, whose favorite dish is, of course, a hot dog. And as you suck down your ultra-processed soy, corn, inflammatory seed oil, high fructose corn syrup slop, remember, natural foods that have existed since the beginning of recorded history, like eggs, are bad for you. This, as of course, more and more people are forced to eat inflammatory processed foods, mainly because they are usually subsidized by U.S. taxpayers, and they're a lot cheaper. And a lot of people are going to have to save a lot of money because of the way that the U.S. economy is, and also because the IRS wants their fair share. This, as the Biden administration has increased the number of IRS agents to over 80,000 plus new members. This, as of course he promised, no, we're only going after the billionaires. We're only going after the super rich. This, as the IRS previously announced new standards of declaring online transactions over $600, and now, just as of today, are introducing a, quote, new service industry tip reporting program since of course a lot of tips and gratuity are usually paid in cash, which the IRS wants their percentage of. Now, it's important to note here that the IRS did temporarily get rid of the $600 online reporting demand, but this new reporting program that they want for cash gratuity surely does highlight an extremely greedy, money-hungry government that prints money out of thin air, but yet still demands you give them a huge portion of the hard labor that you worked for. This, as labor is becoming harder and harder to find, as we have been documenting many layoffs in many industries within the last few weeks. The latest of which is, of course, Disney, that just announced that they are cutting 7,000 jobs worldwide in an effort to save $5.5 billion as their empire has been crumbling, as, of course, they prioritized woke, insane liberal messaging in a lot of their entertainment, which has pissed off and isolated half of the country in the United States. And what did you think was going to happen? And the layoffs in Disney are very telling, as of course, there was also a lot of layoffs in the big tech sector. This as Google and Microsoft have recently laid off a huge number of their own staff members, but this is all as Google and Microsoft are doubling down and investing a lot of money, a lot of resources, specifically on artificial intelligence, as highlighted by this recent AFP article detailing how Microsoft has announced a multi-billion-dollar partnership with ChatGPT maker OpenAI on new products. This as Google has announced an alternative to this product by Microsoft by announcing its Bard alternative. This as the artificial intelligence race has begun, with companies like Baidu, Alibaba, Facebook, and many others joining Google and Microsoft when it comes to developing technology that will have some very serious moral and legal repercussions for society. This, as there's a very interesting article on The Conversation that is titled, quote, ChatGPT is a data privacy nightmare. If you ever post it online, you ought to be concerned, specifically dealing privacy concerns, since this new latest artificial intelligence is fueled by data that they harvest online. A lot of the times personal private data, a lot of the data that has been collected on you by, of course, these private corporations that know when you're about to poop before you have to poop. Literally, they track all of your cycles, sometimes even knowing when you're pregnant before you even know, and now giving all of that data to a sentient artificial intelligence entity at the beck and call of very unaccountable private multinational corporations. I think we have some issues to be concerned here, as of course the world has been becoming more autocratic than free, which poses some significant challenges to, of course, a free and open and honest humanity. Something that I hope to foster on LukeUnfiltered.com, our own members area, where we have signed up a lot of really incredible, amazing individuals. We are all communicating with each other on our forum. I am answering all of your questions, and in the making of this video, we will have a brand new video only available for members detailing some really crazy things that are happening right now with Project Veritas and some other subjects that we cannot discuss here on this particular broadcast. That data, that information, that new video, as well as answering your questions, are only available for members of LukeUncensored.com. Signing up is easy, it's quick. You get a lot of different perks, a lot of different things available to you just by becoming a member, and we're building and growing and expanding some really exciting things that members will be only privy to exclusively on LukeUnfiltered.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Click the link down in the description below, and I will see you there right after this video with a brand new video available for you. Now, when it comes to American security, I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked, especially in retrospect with everything that is happening. Now, obviously, having security is not always a bad thing. A lot of it is usually theater, and when it comes to domestically protecting the people of the United States, obviously you need some kind of layer of defense, but internationally, geopolitically speaking, especially when it comes to American foreign policy, those decisions being left in the hands of this man doesn't really breed a lot of confidence.
Chuck Schumer, another term as Senate Minority Leader. I think only this time you have a slightly bigger majority, Mr. Leader, and you're the majority leader. About that much bigger?
This is, I think it's fair to say, that the foreign policy of the Biden administration has been absolutely reckless, disappointing for many Americans, but also a lot of other people around the world that have seen an escalation of the previous usual consensus neoconservative foreign policy that has been escalated significantly under the Biden administration, that hasn't secured the national interest of the United States or the interest of everyone else internationally to have some peace, but has created a situation that does the opposite of that. This, as of course we have a major bombshell by Simon Hirsch that released an article on his Substack, mainly because many American corporate media regurgitating intelligentsia state-sponsored news organizations, even if you could call them that, refused to run the story, a story that I think is absolutely worth talking about. Now, the Times and the Daily Mail have picked up this story, as well as a lot of other independent journalists. Tucker Carlson, of course, did a segment on this specific story, so did Jimmy Dore. We talked about it as soon as we heard about it, but the implications in this story here are very eye-opening to say the least, and definitely deserve to have a bigger deep dive here. As of course, Simon Hirsch here didn't just go off tangents, didn't just kind of speculate what happened here, but gave very detailed, nuanced information that only someone from the inside would know when it comes to launching and doing an operation such as, of course, the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline. That, on its face value, absolutely makes sense when you start looking at it from a kind of geopolitical perspective. Now, the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline was a major event that a lot of people probably will be reading in the history books many, many, many years from now as one of the key escalations that have led to the horrible situation that we're in now, that is continuing to escalate out of grand proportions into possibly a global conflict. Hopefully we could try to avoid that, but we're on the trajectory of one, and dangerous escalations like the blowing up of the Nord Stream pipeline have brought us here in this very precarious, dangerous situation. Now, if you consumed the U.S. corporate mainstream media or listened to American politicians, it was Russia that sabotaged their own pipeline that was allowing them to funnel gas into Germany and Europe. And for some reason, they decided to sabotage themselves, sabotage their relations with Germany, and create a situation where Europe and Germany would have to be dependent on importing American gas, cutting off their reliance with Germany, getting rid of a major pawn on the chessboard that was a specific major bargaining chip for the Russians. Yes, according to the U.S. corporate media and U.S. politicians, the Russians shot themselves in the foot here. And again, that story didn't make any sense, especially when it came to all the American politicians, diplomats, and national security figures like Victoria Nuland and Biden himself promising that there was going to be an end to the Nord Stream pipeline, which of course connected Russia and Germany together. Now, the destruction of this pipeline not only benefited the United States, because now Europe is buying their very much more expensive gas, but it has also created a significant amount of economic chaos in Europe, which of course have only made the situation that much worse for the poorest people in that continent. All of this as we're hearing that the United States and other Western powers sabotaged a potential peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, and additionally also even failed to negotiate or even meet with Russia before the start of this Ukrainian war, and failed not only to meet, but failed to even talk to Russia when it came to trying to prevent this entire big conflict. And when you have a country that's not willing to negotiate, that's escalating this conflict, that's prolonging it by sending in more arms, weapons, bombs, tanks, and contractors, while actively sabotaging peace deals and escalating situations by plunging Europe into economic chaos, making them dependent on your more expensive gas, holy frickin' cow, we have a national security state that should at least be questioned to what in the world are they doing? This, as the information we're getting from Simon Hirsch, is detailing how the President of the United States gave the orders and go-ahead to destroy this pipeline, how it was specifically Navy divers that carried out this mission, planting C4 explosives, causing $500 million in damages. The pipeline, by the way, is not being rebuilt. The price of energy has gone up. And very luckily, Europe has had a very mild winter. Now, what will other winters look like moving forward from here with this lack of energy European resources for the European continent? Well, only time will tell, but I think it's fair to say, why in the world are we doing this? Why is this happening? And it's far more than just to sell natural gas to Europe. This has time, after article, we're hearing for the cause of World War III, with The Hill even writing an article today talking about how the Biden administration is late for World War III. Russia's former richest man is doing television interviews right now saying that World War III is the only way to, quote, stop Putin. And if that's the situation, especially if we're playing with nukes, especially with German politicians now calling for conscription, this as many European countries have already instituted policies for them. Holy frickin' cow, why are we doing this? Should be the question that everyone should be asking themselves, especially when it comes to the larger military intelligentsia state that for some reason is rushing towards this big conflict that is absolutely reckless, pointless, and stupid in my opinion, and protects absolutely no one but endangers everyone. That's my perspective. If you agree, share this video with your friends and family members. It's more imperative than ever. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, and this is why. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video coming your way right now on lukeuncensored.com. See you there.